next section, we're going to be looking at some of our favorite tools, apps, and software. Let's start with looking at accounting software. This is not an exhaustive list, but it's some of what we believe is the best software on the market. Accounting software must be hosted online so that it is not only secure but automatically backed up and accessible from anywhere with an internet connection and with the correct access details. The following list is not exhaustive, but it does have the most reliable, secure, and easy to use platforms available today. Xero. We love it. Well designed. Around all of these are about £20 to £30 per month. QuickBooks, QuickBooks Online, FreshBooks, Sage, and as a free version, you've got Wave. If you are storing your data in paper form, you're not only wasting time filing it, but you're also wasting time retrieving it and wasting space and money storing it. Every efficient business today will be hosting their data in a secure cloud platform that's easy to store, virtually free, and fast to find and access. The data platforms below have the ability to meet all the criteria on varying budgets. On these, you can store not only your accounting data, but all other correspondence, for example, legal documents, quotes, agreements, and much, much more. Everything else, really. Most of the accounting software I have mentioned above have the ability to store the relevant paperwork for the accounting data within it, thereby putting it exactly where you need it. Quick and easy. Here are some of the other data platforms: Google Doc, Dropbox, ShareFile, Data Molino, Box. They range from £5 a month to £700 a year, and really easy to access and very secure platforms. Now let's look at the equipment necessary and useful for a really good bookkeeping process. I've broken this down into two categories, necessary and useful, because there is some equipment you really cannot do without, and you probably already have. And there is other equipment that would be useful depending on the quantities of data you want to process with greater convenience and speed. Let's start with necessary. A personal computer or laptop, either Windows-based or Mac. And secondly, a smartphone with a camera for storing temporary data. See, I did tell you you'd have it all. Let's look at the computer first. This can be any PC or Mac or laptop you currently own. Chances are you already own one. You may even be able to use a tablet of some sort if that is what you prefer. This will be used to operate the software, as it is easier to do so on this rather than on a personal smartphone, especially if you have more than 20 pieces of data per week. You will install the software onto your chosen piece of equipment and use the functionality within it to move data around, find it, maybe print it, and review reports on it. Next, let's look at the smartphone. While the smartphone could be used for virtually everything, at my age and my dexterity, I prefer entering data on larger pieces of equipment like a laptop or PC. However, it is possible to do virtually everything from a smartphone these days. What I particularly use my smartphone for is to scan documents using the camera and a free app, and to review my reports and analysis. Although I am a qualified accountant and understand bookkeeping better than most, I have not done my own bookkeeping for over 35 years. I understand the value of my time, over £300 an hour, and as such have a team processing it for me and my clients. I recommend the same for you. Your job is to create systems and the checks and balances, but not to process the data. Next, let's look at useful equipment for bookkeeping. There are two pieces of equipment you might find useful depending on the volume you put through them. The first is a scanner. If you're scanning a lot of paper, a sheet-fed scanner is going to make your life easier and more streamlined. You just load 20 to 50 documents in the hopper and the scanned PDFs are magically created within minutes. Sheet-fed scanners can be very cost-effective at under £250, $350. They can have a tiny footprint as small as a standard sheet of paper. For smaller volumes and small bits of paper like receipts from petrol stations and coffee shops, for example, I use my smartphone connected to the relevant apps. I have put links to my preferred equipment in the appendices. The second piece of useful equipment is a printer. I'm not a big fan of printing documents for two reasons. One, it takes up a lot of space and is cumbersome, and two, it's not friendly to the planet. A personal reason that I would recommend for you to consider. The reason I put it as useful and not necessary is that you can usually access printing stations in hotels, print shops, libraries and other locations if you have low volume important printing. I really value my time, and so should you, so I have a small wireless printer that I can use when necessary. It is relatively inexpensive, but it does take up space that you may not have or choose not to have. If you are in a hurry and would rather just talk to a specialist on the subject, simply click the button below for an advice-only online meeting. 20 minutes packed with goodness.